Okay, I'm really excited. I'm here with David Carmona from Microsoft. David is the General Manager of Artificial Intelligence, and we thought we'd just have a little chat on camera to look at what Microsoft's vision for artificial intelligence is. I'm particularly interested to understand how important AI is for Microsoft as a business channel. What's your view on that?
Yeah. Well, first thing, thank you. Pleasure to be here with you, Bernard. It's an authentic pleasure to be sharing this conversation with you. So how important AI is for Microsoft? Wow, that's a direct question. Yeah, incredibly important, right? So it's the future of the software. So the way that we sometimes refer to AI is that if software changed the world 10 years ago, so every company was a software company at that time to be competitive.
Yes.
That is the next thing is definitely going to be AI. So AI is transforming software. So it's a new way of developing software instead of going instruction by instruction by teaching the machine and having the machine learn by itself. So as such, it's going to be definitely the next frontier on software.
Very good. And I think lots of people are familiar with some of the enterprise use cases, maybe some of the cloud implementations. Do you have some good examples of how some customers of Microsoft are now using AI?
Yeah, so I look at it more as, because there's always shiny cases that we can talk. I always like to look at it from a journey point of view.
Yeah.
So the reality is that to have that complete transformation of your company, you have to go step by step. Now, always in the right direction, right?
Yeah.
But always step by step. And in that journey, we usually refer to it as 3 main steps. One is about transforming your technical units.
Yeah.
So it's making sure that your developers and data scientists, they are skilled and they can create those use cases using AI by transforming the applications that they're already creating or creating new ones. So in that sense, for example, use cases, with the typical one in there that is just like 15 years ago, 20 years ago, every company was creating a website.
Yes.
Now every company is creating a conversational agent, right? So making sure that you are leveraging that channel to have a new connection with your customers and your employees. And in that sense, I don't know, just to bring you a couple of them, I like, for example, BMW case where they're bringing the agent to the car itself. I think that's a beautiful example on that hybrid of you need a cloud computing, but that cloud computing has to extend through the edge, in this case, the car. So that agent is local, they have the control and the full experience, but at the same time it's connected to the cloud. So it's a nice hybrid. And another one, just to bring something also from Europe, Telefonica, right? Telefonica created Aura, which is their intelligent agent. And in their case, what they did is redefining like the most iconic device for a telco, the landline device. So they're replacing the landline device with an AI-powered device that is using conversational AI to do everything, right? That a telco can provide you. So that's on the business units. But then we see that the next big step is business processes. So it's bringing your AI to your core business processes. And that's where you have, I don't know, 1 million use cases. There are so many, right? From depending on the industry and depending on the horizontal, right? So things from transforming marketing, transforming sales, finance, HR, or then vertically transforming manufacturing, healthcare. Every single industry can be redefined with that, and there are so many examples.
And this is actually a really interesting example. This is when I take clients through their AI journey, we usually look at customers first and how they can develop smarter products and services, and then we look at business processes and how they can drive efficiencies.
Exactly.
So when it comes to driving efficiencies, there is the challenge that we very often use AI to replace humans, and this is where lots of where people get scared about AI. What is your response to this? How do you respond to this?
Yeah, so I would separate it into at least timelines. One is the short term, and the other one that we have to discuss is the long term.
Yeah.
In the short term, we see AI augmenting people's expertise, right? So every time we see a scenario where it's the combination of AI and human the one that can drive the results, and at the same time keeping the system responsible. So having a human in the loop will make sure that you can keep accountability, that you can make sure that the decisions are transparent. So all of that is ingrained into that relationship, and we think it's the right thing to do. Now, that said, long term, we have to think the skills that will be needed in the people, employees, to have that collaboration between them and AI. And just like any technology revolution, it will need new skills. And it's a responsibility from not only technology providers, which of course they should have responsibility, but also from public organizations and in general society to make sure that we prepare people for those new skills, and we have a society network that can help in that process. Which
so what sort of skills would you recommend your kids to focus on?
Yeah, so the easy thing for me would be to say data science, because it is true, right? Yeah. So yes, of course there will be a lot of people designing and developing those systems. So data science, I mean, I'm trying with my kids, zero success, but I'm trying. But it's not only, yes, yeah, we're awful, yeah. But beyond that, not everybody has to be a data scientist. I think there's a lot of soft skills that we will need to develop, that the way that I would look at them is actually things that are intrinsically human, that cannot be augmented by AI. So think of any skills that is about empathy, creativity, decision making, making sure that you are able to bring multiple things and then having the decision on that. So it's removing the monotonous, repetitive tasks and making us more human. So a lot of skills that will be needed there that we are not empowering right now in the
Perfect. I couldn't agree more. And for me, hopefully this new AI-enabled industrial revolution will hopefully make our workplaces more human. This is my prediction. Another big topic around AI is transparency, explainability. Yes. I think early implementations of AI have created great machine learning black boxes. What is Microsoft doing at the moment? Have you got any recommendations of how we overcome some of this?
Yeah, so two angles for that problem, right? So one is the technology angle. So there's a lot of research already happening to try to minimize that problem. And I will bring just one in particular from Microsoft Research that is already available as part of Azure, which is called EVM. And it's basically the ability to open black box models with techniques like, doesn't matter, out of the scope, but you can search online for techniques like GAM, G-A-M, that are mimicking the behavior of that black box model, like a deep neural network, but it's able to open it so you can see the correlations with the decision, the attributes that are driving the decisions, right? Yeah. And that, in combination with a partnership between the data scientists and the business, can be extremely powerful to identify potential issues in that model that you wouldn't be able to see if you just keep it as a black box. Yeah. So so an example of this that we had, this was with a hospital that was using a model to predict the likelihood of a patient that was just in the ER to get a problem with pneumonia, a complication caused by pneumonia. The model that they had, it was of course always in combination with doctors, and doctors were realizing that it was doing like weird recommendations, like for example very old people even with asthma, they were predicted like low likelihood of having pneumonia, which is like a doctor would know that is impossible. So by applying these techniques, we were able to open that model and understand that what was happening is that first they didn't have enough data from all patients. So you could see in the chart how for all patients the accuracy of the model was getting very low. And the other thing is that there was this typical correlation versus causality thing on the data, because if you have asthma and you go to an emergency room, immediately you are going to get prioritized. So your chances of getting pneumonia are lower. Okay. But that is because the doctor was impacting in that data set, right? So that is something impossible to do, or to detect. One, if your models are black box, it's very difficult to see something like that. And two, even if you open the model, you need a doctor, you need a business domain expert to be part of that process to identify, oh, I see the correlation here, this is the problem. So that's something that we are definitely pushing from those two angles, technology and then processes, making sure that the human, the business expert in this case, is part of the loop.
Yeah, that's great to hear. If you have businesses that now want to start on their AI journey, what do you see as the biggest barriers, the biggest things that they need to address in order to successfully implement AI? Maybe you can leave me with some final recommendations of what a business leader watching this video should be thinking about.
Yeah, so I would try to summarize this in just three things. So let me try to just three steps. So step number one is strategy. So look at AI not as a technology that you can use in individual isolated projects. Think about what is your end goal. So think about where do you want your company to be in 5 years by using AI. So moonshot level, so how is it going to transform my business? But then don't try to do that directly. So get there in a series of smaller steps. Yeah. So think of what projects today, short term, even with ROI from the very short term, adapted to the skills that you have in your organization, adapted to the data that you have, can get you there and build it and learn in the process. So that for me would be the number one thing. Number two is really thinking about AI and the cultural transformation that it requires. So AI is not something that you can just put on the table of your, I don't know, your data scientist lead, or you have an IT organization, your CIO, or anything like that. Everybody in the organization has to be part of that. And that will involve a cultural transformation. You need an organization that is data-centric. You need an empowered organization where everybody is part of the process of thinking what are the use cases, what are the business problems that I want to solve with AI, and it's not something that you can relegate to your technical unit.
Couldn't agree more, yeah.
And then the third thing that I would say is please don't think about the ethical implications of AI after the journey. So think about it today. So as you are embracing AI, think about the challenges that AI is going to bring to your organization as well, and the implications of the use cases that you're going to create. So think about privacy, transparency, as we discussed before. Think about bias. Think about reliability. Think about the system limitations of the technology. We tend to talk a lot about the wonders of AI, but you have to be aware of the limitation of technology, so you make sure that you adapt your use case to that situation.
Great. Actually, there's very rarely that you have a conversation with someone and I could actually sign every sentence you've said here today. Wow. So I 100% agree with everything you say. So thank you very much, David.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
If you would like to learn more, head to my website at bernardmar.com, where you can find tons of articles, white papers and videos that will give you a lot more insights into real-world case studies and examples.